On today's starting nine, Jake and Carl are joined by Toronto Blue Jays starting pitcher Kevin Gausman. There's also some great segments to go through. A new segment, the Homerun Award. We're going to do some questions. We're going to do some answers. We're going to have some fun. This is starting nine. Let's get to it. Action. Welcome back to starting nine. This is Carl. I am joined by Jake and Colin. As always, what's up, boys?
How are you, my friend? Everything good with you?
I'm a little rattled. Yeah.
I am too, a little bit. My kids are so ready for summer that they just can't seem to get through the last couple of days of school. They're hanging out with the lackeys, kids till like 9:30 at night. Cannot get them to come to the house. Last night it was, I think, 10:30. I hear Brittany like just doing everything she can to get Cooper to take a shower, and he's refusing. He's in the other room. I'm watching a couple of the games late at night, and I hear her say, "Hey, I'm gonna have your dad come in here." And I'm like, "All right, I need to go in there." And so I go in there and I scare him. I smack the bathroom door and I walk in. He's standing there naked, just posing in the mirror. You know, I go, "Dude, why are you not in the shower? What are you doing?" He goes, I'm posing like Mr. Olympia. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. So I'm like, get your ass in the shower, please. Get in the shower. It's 10:30. I know you're ready for summer. So am I. But get in the shower.
Is Mr. Olympia worship in your house?
No, not really.
Where's the 10-year-old boy get?
He's on YouTube all the time, and he's watching like those clips, and he's like, why is every clip that I see of like people working out? I'm like, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Mm-hmm. But he loves working out. So maybe that's what he wants to do. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it's like, do we need to say it? Obviously, dad is coming home every day, just pumping iron. Yeah, if you're a workout everyday dad, I would imagine your kid's gonna pick up on that pretty quickly. Like my dad was like a smoke cigs in the garage and like crush ice cold beers every day after work. So what do you think? What itch do you think I'm scratching at 4 p.m.?
I think you're torn. I think you want to be pulled in both directions, and it's a hard choice for you to make, and that's fine. Story about your dad moving the kitchen table to the garage is pretty great.
Yeah, because he was just ripping cigs inside so much, and my mom was like, "You really, I'm not even going to go down the path of trying to get you to quit, but can you please stop doing it inside?" And I think this was like a big movement for a lot of guys in the early to mid 90s, where it was like, "Hey, this is obviously." Now it's like the moms are coming home. They're like, we have the data to show you this is bad for the kids. And so they're like, you just have to take it outside. And he was like, okay. So it was like, you have to smoke outside. And so then they bought a new kitchen. And she's like, why are you getting a new kitchen table? He's like, I'm taking this one outside. And he like put the kitchen table out in the garage and like rearranged everything so he could just like cut cigs and crush beers in the garage. He's a great dude. Shout out Hank.
Shout out to Hank. You know, what's funny about that is, you know, my parents smoked cigarettes and while I'm growing up, and they were, you know, big about not smoking in the house, and they would like smoke at the back door with the door open, and the whole house smells like cigarettes. They're like, well, I'm not smoking inside. I'm like, you basically are smoking inside. So
do you not cut cigs, or is it something where like, maybe if you have a couple in you?
No, I don't like cigarettes. I mean, I like nicotine, but you know, I stopped dipping probably 3 years ago. I had to do it more or less because, you know, multiple reasons. It's terrible for your teeth, bad for your health. And just, I don't want the kids see me do it. So I stopped during the season sometime in 19. And I knew that I had to do it during the year around players that were dipping constantly, or else I wouldn't do it, or I wouldn't be able to stop. I could quit in the off season when I wasn't around it. And I think I told you a story. One of the first times I tried to stop dipping in the off season, the first time was very difficult. I would have like half a can left and I'd throw it out, but then I'd like go fish it out of the trash can, or I would even dump the can in the trash can and then just try and find a pinch that was still good and toss it in. And then sometimes Brittany would like fill the can with like soap, and I'm like, that's not going to stop me. I'm still going to do it. But yeah, so I had to quit. and I don't blame anybody for doing it. It's delicious, but fortunately for me, I don't do it anymore, thankfully. But yeah, nicotine's nice every once in a while.
We are going to get to Kevin Gausman a little bit, right-handed pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, who's fucking awesome. It was a great conversation. I got to watch my language. It's a great
just a little bit.
Little.
Yeah. Okay, because we're trying to get people to subscribe to this channel. You know what I'm saying, Carl?
I'm hungry. Keep feeding me.
We got kids listening, but no, look, you got to let it fly too. Every once in a while, you're passionate, so don't hold back too much.
Did you just not see me? I said I was hungry. I want you to feed me feed me more subscriber content right now. Like you just get on a little. What do we want exactly?
We want people to subscribe, and I guess the algorithm is big on unsubscribing and resubscribing. Mm-hmm. But don't forget to resubscribe, because if you unsubscribe, then that kind of defeats the purpose.
We're gonna get the algorithms. I think maybe that's.
Do you understand the algorithm?
That's Colin's job.
Do you understand it, Colin? You do?
Yeah.
No, we talked. We actually had a meeting yesterday. How about this, Jake? Me, Colin, and our head. We have someone who works at Barstool and stuff. The three of us got together and talked about the algorithm.
Well, I'm glad you involved me in that. I appreciate it.
Well,
I guess I didn't get the text.
If you find yourself in a situation where you're the one naming the titles for the YouTube and the shorts and the clips and the captions, we have failed as a podcast. We need you staying at 30,000 feet, big fella. Okay. I need you you reading Fangraph material, watching the information. We're going to get to some more segments too. Game of the year, Homerun Award,
which is a great award. It's a beautiful award. And I think people that are involved with us in a part of the show are going to really appreciate this, because it's not just about the home run. There's so much more that goes into it. And I think it's going to be a fun breakdown and something people will really enjoy.
We're going to do the interview, little filth meter. I think we're going to run through a starting nine that I like, some housekeeping stuff. We have a loaded show. This is why you podcast. This is why you get in the game, so that when you sit down for a show like this, you just see the table of contents and you just want to attack it 1 through 9. I swear to God, man, this is how it feels.
Yeah.
Do we want to get to some baseball with this amazing interview?
I mean, how good was that? And how good is he?
I'll say this, and we'll do a couple segments before we get to the interview, but a tease to the tease. Like that?
Yes.
Yeah, she likes it. A tease to the tease. Interesting stuff with Kevin, because he's so dominant. Like, he's just so utterly dominant. Last night against the Cardinals, he was amazing.
Yeah, he's very good, and with 2 pitches.
But he's so, when you talk to him, he's like, yeah, what's up? Like, he's so cool. He's so laid back. I think you have people generally have the perspective that the starting pitchers are like Roger Clemens and these, like, to you to a certain extent, people that are like, all fired up and stuff. And that guy's just like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, a lot of guys have to go to a certain place within the lines, and we'll have Lackey on the show eventually, and he'll tell you that, as much as anybody, when he's off the field, he's a teddy bear. He couldn't be more enjoyable to be around. But, in competition, he would always say, look, my stuff isn't good enough to not go to that place. So that's just how he is. But yeah, Gausman, he's electric. He's a great kid. He's from Colorado, LSU boy. That's what you get with him. He's got that laser focus. It doesn't seem like his demeanor really changes much from when he's off the field to when he's on the field. He's just kind of going about his business and letting his stuff speak for itself. And it's really amazing that he can do it with predominantly just 2 pitches. He does throw, like we talked about, he's got a changeup, which he'll use in more of a situation early in the count where he needs to show 1 for a strike early in the game. And I talked to him about, we had that conversation, that back and forth about how important it is to show the lineup off speed for strikes early in the game, because if you're not showing it for a strike, they're going to completely eliminate it, sit hard and look for something, straight in the zone to put a good swing on. So, that's one of the reasons he's made the steps forward that he has, is because he knows how important it is to showcase off speed for strikes early in the ballgame.
And some mind blowing stuff he says about it, for me at least. some light bulbs will go on.
Yeah.
Later. Now we're just teasing fucking everything. Let's get to the game of the year.
Game of the year. To me, it was the matchup between the Mets and Giants. I mean, the back and forth was just incredible. Game on the West Coast, in San Francisco. I tried my best to stay up to the end of the game, but waking up at 5:30, it was tough. I went to sleep. It was, man, I think Jock had just tied it up at 11 with his third homer. So Jock was 4 for 6, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, and the big game tying home run in the bottom of the 8th. The Mets 7-run 8th inning, Lindor with the go ahead triple in the 8th, 6 RBIs. I believe they had 9 hits in that inning, which I don't know how many times we've seen that ever in baseball, Colin.
I'm on that.
Yeah, it was just a back and forth beatdown. And one of my best friends of all time, Tommy LaStella, back from the DL, new leg kick, new power. I mean, when I think it was his first or second game back in Colorado a week-ish ago, he hits a ball 464 feet. And that'll kind of lead into something we had talked about, like the ball off of the bat starting to sound a little bit different. I don't know if they're cueing, if they're, piping in some of this sound, or the balls, they bring in some juice balls back. It sounds like a different baseball, because I know the boys are using the same bats. Balls jumping. So last night was insane. We get a text from Colin. What'd you say? Like this team is different or something, like it was as they were scoring those 7 runs in the 8th inning. And I'm like,
I was so hyped.
Yeah, as you should have been. I thought the game was over after the after the 5th or 6th inning, when it was so it was 8-2 in the 7th. I'm like, yeah, okay, this game's probably wrapped up. And then you send that text, I turn on, it's like, holy shit, like they they just took the lead. Yeah, so 13-12 final score. Jock had the go ahead single in the bottom of the 9th, and then Crawford with the game-winning knock. 13-12 was the final score. A total of 30. How many hits was that? 29, 37 hits. I mean, 19 hits by the Giants, 18 hits by the Mets. No errors in the ball game. So really, really fun ball game to watch. Mm-hmm. And two playoff contending teams. Just a really, really awesome game.
Okay, ball's dead. I like that. That's a good breakdown. I mean, honestly, we gotta send you on more. I gotta give you like a clipboard. Do more like game watches and stuff.
You know what I don't want to do though? I don't want to do games from the booth. I think you would be good at that. Just 4 hours for me. Millar's doing it now. He's working for Nesson. I think he's doing 20 games a year, and it's a lot. It's a lot. So
I got a story about that actually just recently. My dad and I were talking, Hank, and he was like, yeah, it's a podcast. He's like, it's pretty good. He's like, I think that this thing works out. You could one day maybe be on like a network, like, hey, 5th inning, we're going to call over to, Michael Carl. Hey, what do you say? And I was like, I think if the podcast goes really well and I'm looking to cameo on the 5th inning of the Marquee Network, I probably am not doing a good job. It's not going well at all, Dad. But shout out to him. He's 69 years old. The fact that he knows the podcast and can download it and all that stuff and is willing to make that comparison to me, it's a huge step for a 69-year-old guy. It's a huge step for like any dad. So thank you. Shout out that. Most hits in an inning, 16 hits. 16.
Okay. Oof. That's 2 or 3 times through the order. 2.5.
1989. 1989. Colin, how old were you in 1989?
I was -5.
Just a flicker in your dad's eye.
Swimming around.
I want to hear your thought. How much of the game did you watch, and what did you think? I mean, did you think the game was over after, well, for one, when it's 8-2 Giants, and then when the Mets came back and then they took a 3-run lead when it was 11-8, it's like, okay, now the Mets are going to win this game.
Yeah, my setup is I can watch 6 games at once, and so I think I had like 5 on last night. The Mets and the Giants were in the quad box, and I'll be honest, I got a little distracted for a little bit towards the end of the night. And
Yeah.
what do you say? All right. Well, so I got distracted, and then I came out and I saw the text messages from Colin. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. We got another Mets comeback. And now I do. There's this thing at Colin. I don't know, if you know this about Barstool Chicago, but we like watching each other suffer very much. It is very much as part of like our fabric of this group of guys is like,
that's what men do. That's what
I want pain. I want the Mets. I wanted the Mets to come back just so they could lose.
That's fine. That's fine with me. I mean, that was a loss last night that you're not like, I can't believe I just stayed up and, watched them lose 8-2. It was a tough one, but then like that game was incredible, that regardless of who won that game, like it was just amazing to watch.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And I saw a little note from the Giants, and that was the first time the Giants have given up 10 runs in back-to-back games since sometime in 2000. So it's a rare occurrence for the Giants.
So I got to take on the game. I did. Obviously, I have some package takes on it. I'm just going to run through this quick. Jock 3 home runs, crazy. I think two of them splashed. I just love watching home runs there, especially as the sun's going down and those like it's beautiful. The 840. I hate having to stay up to watch my team play on the West Coast, but when I consciously say I'm going to watch a little West Coast baseball, that's different. And that was last night enjoyable. However, I would have much rather seen a 2-1 Logan Webb, Chris Bassett, shove it down your throat game. But at the same time, it's cool. I like seeing Yaz get going. Great mustache out there in center field. Like the Giants doing it. The City Connect jerseys too. That's cool.
Little here too. He's got the little flavor saver, whatever the girls like to call
it. So what is that? And why do baseball players wear that as a higher percentage of the population than like regular guys?
I'm sure if you ask Yaz, and we can ask, I'll send him a text. I doubt there's a rhyme or reason for it. It's just he was probably tighten it up, and it could have just been one of those things where he started shaving one day and said, I'm leaving the mustache and the little guy down here. And I've done that many a times where, I have no plan going into it. I end up just letting the mustache rock for, a month or two, just for fun.
The Giants do a thing called Mustache May. So that's what they're doing right now.
There it is. It is.
I want to track games of the year so that at the end of the year, we can give an award to the game of the year. And so we don't have to do it weekly, but when a game pops up, like yesterday was a game where we were texting each other late at night. I was like, holy shit, this is fucking crazy. So this is officially the top holder. Now we're not giving it a ranking or anything because there's no comparison yet, but like the next time a crazy game comes up, we're going to introduce it. We're going to keep this one in the bank. I guess we should kind of come up with some kind of score to compare it. Jake, do you want to take the honor? Scale 1 to 10. What do you think
of the game?
Yeah, don't rookie score me either.
Yeah, no. So I could agree with you a little bit as far as I was a starting pitcher. I love watching pitchers duels, but there's something about like that back and forth with two playoff type teams. Not giving in. The huge 7-run 8th inning that the Mets had. Not only was it a home run to tie it from Peterson, it was his 3rd home run. And then, New York scores in the top of the 9th with, kind of stealing all the momentum. And then, the big hits, getting guys on base, and Jock coming through with another hit to tie the game. And then Crawford wins it with another knock, a base hit to left field. So I loved it. I loved that there was good defense. No errors, a shit ton of hits. I'm gonna give that like an 8.5.
Okay. Colin, put that down at 8.5. Currently the number 1 ranked game of the year by us. Now there's probably been better games, obviously, throughout the year, but
I don't know, man.
Segment,
I don't think so.
There's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos. It will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
Before we get to the Homerun Award, I want to talk about our good friends at Celsius Energy. Celsius helps you stay active and energized all day. It's made with premium ingredients, 0 sugar, 7 essential vitamins, and it's not like a traditional energy drink. There's so many delicious flavors. Personally, I love the mango passion fruit. You guys know I'm a huge mango passion fruit guy. It used to be the raspberry. acai, but I have since transitioned to mango passion fruit with Celsius. They've got different product lines for all situations, including Celsius Heat, which includes caffeine to help boost energy to overcome any challenge. And God knows there's so many challenges in life, guys. Like, there's a lot of times you stay up late, you got some challenges, you need to boost Celsius. Like Colin right now just yawned in the middle of an ad read. And Colin, I'm sending you a case of Celsius Heat. We're going to pick you right up, buddy. And Jake, you're going to get some Celsius BCAA plus energy.
Ship
and
it.
that's just the way we're going to do it, guys. Go to Celsius.com to find a store near you or order online at Amazon, Walmart, or Target. Celsius, live fit. There's a trend here at Starting 9 2.0 that I'm enjoying very much. And that's Jake's enthusiasm to do segments. Okay. So that was actually Game of the Year was your idea. You were like, hey, we should do Games of the Year. And you also have another segment that I very much, I like it.
Are you ready for it?
Homerun Award, or what is this?
We'll find a name for it, but this award is not just about the home run. It's about the swing. It's about the gentleman's admiration of the swing. It's the bat flip is kind of a thing of the past. It happened for a little while, and then it just got to a point where like, this is fucking stupid. These guys are throwing the bat 20 feet in the air, and then we got high school kids and college kids doing dumb shit. And it just like, it went to a point where, and look, I'm not like this old guy saying, don't bat flip. It just looked piss poor. It looked bad. So I'm a big fan of like taking a few steps and maybe tossing it a little bit. I love the bat drop. The bat drop, just laying it down like the old like Lance Berkman, just after a blast, he just kind of nice casually like lays it on the ground. I love how Trevor Story like in his backswing kind of flips it a little bit, but it's not overly in your face. So you got the swing, you got the temporary admiration of the ball flight, the bat drop, the trot around the bases is big for me. Being able to in stride, hit the bag with your left foot on the inside of the bag. The celebration with the third base coach. If you notice Jock Peterson, he's kind of got the hop and then like the reverse down low, backhanded high five. That's beautiful. Patrick Wisdom, as he's coming around third, he kind of pulls this down and then he does like the jump high five with Willie Harris at third base. Love that. So you got all those things. So it's the swing, the admiration, the bat drop, the trot around the bases, the third base coach celebration, and then how the guy crosses home plate, and then the handshake with teammates. So there's a lot of variables to this.
7.
It's all important. And little things like you see the Blue Jays, they put the sport coat on the dudes when they hit the home run. Boston, they throw the guy in the basket, the laundry basket, and they push him down the dugout. Anaheim, they put the cowboy hat on, and it seems like they've got stickers on the cowboy hat for all the home runs, kind of like they do in football for hard hits or big plays. So this is a big one. It's one of my favorite ones I came up with last night as I'm watching some of the games. I go, we gotta give an award out to somebody for, we can call it a home run award, but I think there's a better name for it. Chime in if you guys are listening, if you got a good name for it. So and I was telling you earlier, it's like a figure skating routine. It's not just one movement. It's the pizzazz, the showmanship. It's the flair that you're wearing. It's the smile. It's all this shit. And you want me to give mine out now?
I would like to just
comment?
Yeah. I would like just let's take a second. I do want to do this segment, but there's 7 pillars here.
Exactly. It's like you score the difficulty, you score the what are the other little metrics? Like when judges are giving score, it's like difficulty, it's presentation or technique, all those little things. And look, I'm not a judge, but let's look at it. But each category gets a score, right? Mm-hmm. Like the swing. And look at Jock Peterson's third homer last night. Just a ball in off the plate, keeps his hands in tight, hits it, and then he stares at the pitcher just for a split second, right? He walks, he takes 2 or 3 steps, he lays the bat down, he begins his trot. And then he's got the beautiful trot around the bases, in stride, left foot on the inside corner of the bag, like you're taught. A little jump, boom, with the third base coach, steps across the plate, pays his respects, gives a little two-finger deal to Crawford, and then he starts high-fiving with the boys in the dugout. It's all part of the presentation, all part of it. So if it's 7 pillars, there might be an added pillar in there. This just came about last night. We're going to tighten this up. It's going to be a beautiful thing. And I can't wait to start giving these babies out.
All right. Because what we're going to do with this is we're going to get scorecards going. And so just like when you see a ball player and you're like 50 hit, 55 speed, 70, whatever, then we're going to score those. And then we're going to give someone like a grade. And then we're just going to keep track of who's sweet. We said tease. There is our tease to our tease. We have a tease coming because Kevin Gausman's jumping on the show. Before we do, we have 2 minutes to play with. We have 3 minutes to play with here. And we're going to go through our mediocre, the fucking dirty dogs, the dirty dogs at MLB. It's a power ranking. It's the first ever middle of the pack power ranking, guys. We're doing 13, 14, 15, 14, 15, 16,
13 through 17. Yeah. So it's those teams in limbo. And we've had this conversation before, and I've told you, every team's going to win 60 games and lose 60 games. What are you going to do with those 40 games in between? And this is kind of where those teams are at, those 13 through 17 teams that we're going to talk about. It's those games that can make or break season.
So I'll just get into it. 13, I got the Braves. 14, I got the Guardians. 15, I have the Rangers. Shut up, Rangers fans. No, I'm sorry. 15, I have the Red Sox. 16, I have the Texas Rangers. They're back in the picture. And 17, I have my Arizona Diamondbacks, who I absolutely adore.
Okay. They've been okay. They pitched extremely well for a while. Zach Gallen got his tits lit last night, which was rare, but I like it. So you ready for mine?
Mm-hmm.
13 is Atlanta. 14, Boston. 15, we got the Phillies. 16, we have the Cleveland Guardians. And 17, which is a team that I really like, in the Miami Marlins. And that NL East, if you notice, 3 of my teams are in the NL East. And I think that those 3 teams can be very, very dangerous. And that's why I told you guys last week or a week before, the Mets. Oh boy, my pen just okay. I need that. The Mets might have to do something, because you cannot overlook those teams behind you.
Well, I'm going to make a comment. There's rumors circulating here that you often overvalue the Phillies because they make up such a large percentage of your career earnings. Is there truth to that statement?
No, they did pay me well. Thank you, Middleton. Nice guy, by the way. Nice guy.
All right. So from one laid back attitude about electric stuff to another attitude about electric stuff. Let's get to Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman's a starting pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. He was an all-star last year for the Giants. He signed a massive deal this offseason with the Blue Jays. They have built their pitching staff around him. They look very good. They are competitive. This is a World Series contending team. Kevin is on the road in St. Louis in a hotel room about to join us. This is before he makes his start last night, where he carved 6 innings, 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, no runs, en route to an 8-1 victory over the St. Louis Cardinals, which personally and obviously I love. Kevin was a teammate for a little bit at Jake's, and we're going to get to some of this stuff. There's great stories. This is my favorite thing to do, is to do the introduction. So thank you very much, Jake, for letting me do this. Before we talk to Kevin, though, a lot of people are wondering, how can they go see Kevin pitch in person? And you can see Kevin by using Game Time. How about that? Game Time is the new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals, tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. What was that word I just used? It started with a G, and it's guarantee. They cracked the code on how to score deals on last-minute tickets. I'm telling you guys, you could be in Toronto. Maybe you're down in St. Louis for the Blue Jays series. Maybe you just want to go see a game. Just get away. Solo shot. You just want to go sit down and have a cold one, keep score. Check out Game Time. I do that all the time around Wrigley. I'll just be walking home and I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to pop in with Game Time. Purchase process is just 2 taps in 10 seconds. Once you buy your ticket, they're delivered directly to your phone. So no printer, no phony, but jabroni stuff. All you have to do is download Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem code starting9. That's one word, starting. No, it's starting the number 9, starting 9 for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed, starting 9, $20 off your first purchase, terms apply. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to Kevin Gausman. All right, we are in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by Toronto Blue Jays starting pitcher and LSU Tiger, Kevin Gausman. Kevin, thank you very much for joining the show. How's St. Louis?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's great. We got in late last night, but this will actually, I'm pitching tomorrow. This will be the last stadium I'll start in, and then I have started in every big league ballpark. So that'll be pretty cool to check that list.
Every single one of them, huh?
Yeah, every single one of them. This is the last one.
Well, I think the only one I didn't get to pitch in was the new Ranger Stadium, and you've thrown there, right?
Oh no, I guess that's now. I guess how.
Well, you get 2 more.
Thanks for that, Jake. Now I got 2 more now.
Well, you'll get there. You'll get there. I bet you got another 10 years to go, so you'll be just fine. But man, unfortunately we overlap, but we didn't get to play together that long. We had spring training together. We hung out a little bit, but then I was kind of on my way out as you were coming, and we were both subject to, I would say, probably not the best pitching coach around. And fortunately, he's no longer in the game, but I was fortunate just to be around you a little bit, spend some time with you, and kind of watch you grow up a little bit. And I mean, the stuff now is the same. It's obviously made some changes in more ways than one, but now you're this complete guy. And it seems like we had a very similar progression. We had some success, we had some failure, and then we kind of started to figure out who we were as a pitcher, and we started rolling.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, that it didn't work. It's more, I really love my time there, and it's a special place in my heart. Got drafted by them and made my debut for them. And, was a part of some really good teams there. But yeah, it really took me kind of getting away from it, and being given kind of some data, some information that maybe, they just didn't have. It definitely helped me kind of progress. But, it's funny looking back now. You were the first bullpen that I saw first spring training. I remember watching your bullpen, and obviously your stuff was always plus. You always had an ability to make a ball move a lot. And so I remember watching your first bullpen, and you were like Group A, the first one to throw, and I was watching, and I was like, all right, if this is like what it takes, like I don't know if this is, I don't have 4 or 5 pitches that like this, and so it was kind of cool to, and now obviously I've been able to follow your career, and we've had the same massage guy for a long time now, and so and Mike, shout out to Mike.
Hello, Mike.
So we always kind of keep up with each other. But, I've definitely followed you, and happy for the career that you had, and it was really cool to watch you once you got away from Baltimore.
Yeah, man, it was a weird deal. The stuff, like you said, having that sort of elite stuff, and you have that stuff as well, obviously. Being in possession of that kind of stuff and not having success made it so much more difficult to find out how to handle that failure at times, because you watch guys around the league pitch and you're like, these guys don't have near the shit that I do. Why can't I figure this out? And it's not a knock against other players. It's just kind of, it's a reality of the situation. You're mid to upper 90s with the ball that moves 18 inches and a good curveball and a cutter and a changeup. It's like, I've got to figure this stuff out. And you beat yourself up over and over and over. And I'm sure you've those positions too, where you're like, man, you second guess yourself. Like, can I do this at this level? And it becomes a personal challenge and an emotional challenge. And I know you have 2 daughters and your wife, Taylor, that you met at LSU. Did you have moments together where it's like, man, what is going on? You know, like what do I need to do different to make this thing work?
Oh, I always joke with my wife that she's more than just my wife. She's my therapist, my massage therapist at times, like she does everything. She sits there and listens to me, gives me advice. But yeah, I mean, there was multiple times. For me, it was a lot of times like late at night, like couldn't sleep, and I'm like, she's just like, what's going on? And I'm like, just I'm like doing the same thing every 5 days, like I'm grinding every single 5 days, and it's like I'm doing the same thing, I'm giving up like 3 or 4 like big hits in big situations, but the other hits, like it's weird looking back now, because like I feel like my first like 3-4 years in the big leagues, I was constantly just man, like they barely got a hit there, or like I just have the worst luck ever right now. It's just like seeing on base hits. And so it's a lot of sleepless nights, as you're sitting there and it's just like, what do I need to do to get these major league guys out? For me, it sounds bad to say, but it took me getting to the big leagues and really kind of getting my ass kicked to be like, that was the first time where it was like, all right, these guys are like at my level and even like better than me, and that was like the first time in my life I had, excuse me, that I had been around guys that were like that. It was no more like, all right, I'm in Double A, I'm behind 2-0, I can throw 2 fastballs and get back into the count, and then like, get a punch out or a ground ball. Like it was no more of that. It was like, all right, I'm behind 2-0. Let me try to throw an off-speed pitch for a strike. But if it's too much of a strike, like it's getting whacked,
Yep.
And I look back on my debut. It's kind of crazy, actually. I made my debut 9 years ago today in Toronto, May 23rd. So it's kind of crazy to think about that now that I'm with the Blue Jays. But just something that I look back on now, and I had the worst mechanics that I've had in my career, probably some of the worst stuff that I've had in my career. But, I was with an organization that at the time had tried, like 9 other guys to fill that 5 spot. Wayne Chen got hurt that year. It just kind of lined up perfectly. I was in Double A at the time, pitching really well, and I mean, I got to the big leagues. My first 5 starts were terrible, so go back down to AAA. And, I think I played with you there for about 2 weeks, before you got traded to Chicago.
Yep.
And I mean, it was a grind, that was the first time in my life where I was like, maybe I'm just not as good as these guys, and like, what do I need to do to figure this out? So yeah, there's definitely a lot of sleepless nights for sure.
And when you say you had the worst mechanics of your career, a lot of people won't necessarily understand that, because from the outside looking in, they'll watch you pitch on TV and they can't tell necessarily what's going on. But we feel it, whether it's our balance or our direction or our front side or our arm path. There's something in there that we know that we feel is off. And I can tell just watching you today how compact and how deliberate you are through your delivery. And the conviction is just is night and day from where you are now to where it was. And your ability to basically not walk anybody. And it seems like you just go out there and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to throw everything I've got at you. I'm coming at you from the very first pitch, and you're going to have to react to what I'm doing. And it's so much, as you know, it's so much easier to pitch when you're ahead than from behind. And the difference between pitching if you win that 1-1 count, right? If you're in a 1-2 count versus a 2-1 count, I think the increase in average is near 100 points or even higher. So as a guy, who's cerebral and able to understand those things, if you just recognize those numbers, it's like, well, shit, all I got to do, if I get ahead of these guys, my chance of success goes through the roof. So in your transformation, what were a couple of the things mechanically that really helped take you to the next level? And what helps you make those changes? Was it work on the side? Was it dry work? Was it just getting the ball in your hand more often, throwing, flat grounds, or playing long toss? I know you're a big advocate of long toss, especially when you were younger. But what helped you kind of dial in those mechanics from where you were to where you are now?
Yeah. So, I mean, really it's like going back probably like 3 years. So I was with the Braves in 19, got put on the DL, was down in Florida, really just like body feeling like crap. I had plantar fasciitis at the time. I had a 6-month-old, 4-month-old baby, my newborn, my oldest now. But just like trying to figure out, like that whole situation, like being a dad, being in the big leagues, like got hurt in spring training, tried to come back, got hurt again. So I'm down in Florida, and I'm like 27 at the time, 28 at the time. And I'm like, man, why does my body feel like crap? Like every time I pitch the next day, like my arm is just hanging. Like I'm not that old, And so I'm like, I need to kind of figure this out if I'm going to keep playing like I want to. And so my catch partner in Atlanta was Sean Newcomb, big left-hander, ball just explodes out of his hand. He has this like leg kick out. So I was like, all right, that's the mechanics that I want. Like, I'm going to take it back down to ground zero, like get my foot right, and then go back down to ground zero and kind of build this thing. See if it'll make me like my fastball play up in the zone, because his fastball plays up in the zone because it just like gets on gas. And so I take a video of him, like his mechanics, and I flip it so it's right-handed. And like that's all I watched. I was down in Florida for maybe 5 weeks. All I did was watch his mechanics, like did dry work, bullpens every other day pretty much. Was down with Dave Wallace and Dom Cheedy because they were with the Braves at the time. And I'm just throwing bullpens with Rapsodo and trying to like figure that out, trying to throw a curveball again. It wasn't very good, but just working on that, kind of like honed in on this belief that landing hard on my front side, like posting, makes my fastball play even more up in the zone. So I'm doing this with the new mechanics. I have Rapsodo and all this data, and I go from, throwing on average, my vertical break on my fastball before was like 14 to like the best being like 17 inches. And then now I'm throwing my bullpens and I'm starting to see that I'm like sitting at 17, 18, like touching like 22 inches on certain days. And then I'm throwing my split off of that. And I'm literally just seeing it like, this is the difference.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, I had done this in 18 when I got traded to the Braves from Atlanta, or when I got traded to the Braves from Baltimore. I got to Atlanta and they were like, pitch up in the zone, throw your split. So I made 10 starts with them. I think I had a 2.5, like I was 6-3, like probably the best like 10 start stretch in my career, pitching up in the zone primarily for the first time. And so 19, tried to do that again, got hurt, just couldn't get the fastball up in the zone.
What did you injure in 19?
So I hurt my shoulder in spring training, tried to come back. And then I got plantar fasciitis in like my push off leg.
Oh, and
so I'm
your
just
right
like,
foot.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to push off, like got nothing, trying to get into my legs and my old mechanics, but it's just not working. So I go into these new mechanics and I'm seeing the data. And so I'm like, all right, this is going to play. I go back to the big leagues, first start in the big leagues, like 7 shutty against the Nationals. I think on like Sunday Night Baseball, I'm like, all right, locked in. I'm back. Make a couple more starts for the Braves, like hit or miss. Get DFA'd, put on wires, picked up by Cincinnati. So I get to Cincinnati.
And they had you out of the bullpen, correct? In Cincinnati? I think you made one start.
Yeah. I made one start.
And was that a conversation you had with them about your usage, or is that just what they wanted to do with you?
No. So, I mean, at the time their starters were nasty. I mean, they had Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, Trevor Bauer, Anthony DeSclafani, Alex Wood. So they had all these guys. So it was like, hey, we got 2 months left in the season. You're going to be in the pen. And they were like, just throw 2 pitches, fastball split. And so did that, threw an immaculate inning, like had some really like dominant outings out of the pen, throwing upper 90s. And then really it was the Giants being like that off season, being like, we want you to do exactly what you did with the Reds, but as a starter. And, it was kind of like, you really want me to throw just 2 pitches as a starting pitcher? And they were like, yeah, like we don't think many guys can do it, but your 2 pitches are like outliers, and so we believe that if you can do it, you're gonna have a lot of success doing it. And so,
man, there's not many pitches that you can watch on TV and not know what the hell it's going to do. Like when you watch a baseball game, most people are watching, they're like, how the hell did you not swing at that, or how'd you miss that? But because it looks easier on TV, but your split, man, it's like the last 4 or 5 feet, it's just gone. And you've thrown that for a long time. And okay, so you've got like Devin Williams changeup with the Brewers. The spin rate on his, I want to say, is very high, and yours is the opposite. It's a split, but it's like a knuckleball kind of deal where the spin rate is really low. And that's got to help. And I know the data from like the Rapsodo and stuff like that. Is that what helps create such incredible movement on that pitch, is the low spin?
So the way that I have tried to understand it, there's something we call it seam FX. It's like seam shifted wake. So like,
oh wow, write that down, Carl.
I am taking notes, so just fucking let it fly, man.
Yeah. So I mean, now in baseball, there's something new every single year, as you know, Jake. Like there's something new, especially in pitching. There's a new metric. So seam shifted wake, essentially, my understanding of it is where in relation, like your fingers are in relation to the seam, and how it comes through the zone, or how your arm path comes through and it's releasing on the ball. Like that's the seam shifted wake. So that's why a guy like Kyle Hendricks can throw, 85 to 88 and get away with it, because there's like a split moment where the ball is almost like in limbo, to where our brains as humans can't calculate it.
Can't
so that
comprehend which direction it might move,
where it's gonna move, or what the spin on the ball is doing, to be able to calculate where to swing or where. So that's why, like, you watch like a guy like Greg Maddux, who used to throw unbelievable sinkers, and like a guy like you too. Like, I'm sure if you went and looked back to your numbers, you were a seam shifted wake guy. You just didn't even know it.
Had no idea. And gotta ask this: does that have anything to do with where the pressure is on the seam, or does it not have to be off of the seam? It's just how the seam reacts to like the drag in the air? Or
I think so. Now,
okay.
I don't know that much about it. All I know is that my split is a seam shifted wake pitch. Now, like Anthony DeSclafani throws a 2-seamer. His 2-seam is a seam shifted 2-seam.
Okay, so it's a category, and there are pitches that are in that seam shifted wake category.
Yeah. And so I learned all this from Brian Bannister, who's with the Giants, obviously had a great career himself. He essentially is like helping the Giants almost draft guys who he thinks are seam shifted wake guys.
God, this is bizarre, man. Wow.
Yeah. And so, this is like the new age of baseball. You try to find people who have an outlier, and then you kind of build them up through that. You teach them maybe an arm plyo program to build up their arm strength, because maybe they don't throw that hard. So it's like, all right, we just got to get them to 90 miles an hour. If you can throw 90 and have a seam shifted wake pitch, like,
do you know if you can, is that something,
really
is that something that's coachable, that's teachable, trying to or is that just a biomechanic gift that certain guys might have with their arm path and their the dexterity and the mobility in their wrist and their fingers? Because there's guys, my fingers are immobile, not very mobile at all. So I'm kind of surprised that I was able to throw such a good sinker throughout my career. But then you see guys with incredible wrist mobility and really long fingers that can really, really spin the baseball. So I'm curious, and I'm not sure if you know that, if that's something that can be taught or it's just kind of a God-given ability.
I think maybe through like different pitch grips and maybe changing like certain guys like arm swings or arm slots, you might be able to like try to make someone. But I think it's one of those things like you almost kind of already have it or you don't. Like, I'm pretty sure I can say this, that like Kyle Hendricks has probably always been able to throw a two-seamer, like he probably just has always been able to do that. Like, I've never been able to spin the ball that great, but I've always been able to throw a changeup. Like, certain guys can just, they can just do things like, like Zach Britton. He played with Zach Britton. Like, you can't teach anybody to throw a sinker like Zach Britton because no one has an arm swing like him.
No,
like,
and he's got these little.
He would legit hit himself in the side of the head.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, because he gets so close.
And he's got these tiny,
like,
tiny hands too, with these tiny little baby fingers. So maybe that's why he's able to throw it so well. But yeah, I think it's the best pitch in baseball.
Yeah,
or it has been historically. It's incredible.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's wild. So Carl, seam shifted wake.
Yeah, it's wake or weight.
Wake.
Yeah,
wake.
Well, so a lot of people say at my time in Illinois, I was a big seam shifted wake guy, just ahead of my time. Like, if we went back today, who knows where we could have gone. This is kind of a random question. I really need you to address the donuts. When in this process did you stop eating donuts in between innings? This is like a famous thing when you got drafted. People were like, we don't know if this guy has the makeup to be a starter because he eats so many powdered donuts. Is there a direct correlation between your career trajectory and your affinity for donuts?
No, I wish, man. I wish there was. So it's funny, actually. So, Jake knows Brady Anderson. Like, Brady Anderson in Baltimore, super health conscious guy. Like, I always say he's like a vampire. Like, he doesn't age. He's like,
he's on some good shit
in the weight room. Yeah, like freak in the weight room. Like, and so he honestly, my first spring training, he came to me and was like, hey, like, tell me about this donuts thing, and I was like, well, like, it's something I started a long time ago. Like, I was like, honestly, I think it's just like a nervous thing that I do. Like, now it's to the point where people like bring me, like at LSU, people would like bring me bags of donuts, like Hostess donuts. And I would eat 3 of the little ones in between every inning. And so he was like, yeah, well, like that's back when you were pitching once a week. He's like, now you're going to be pitching every 5 days. Like, you can't be doing that. He's like, 'cause if you're going 7 innings, if you're eating 21 donuts every time you pitch, like, that's not gonna work out. And so I kind of, I was in the minor leagues at the time, so I kind of had to listen to the head honcho, and so I got rid of it pretty quickly. It's unfortunate. It was definitely something that I look back on. I can't believe that I used to do it, but I was definitely like on a sugar high because it was always the powdered donuts. So I would literally have like powdered donut like remnants on my face, and looking back, it's kind of crazy that I kept doing it as long as I did, but it worked.
I think it worked out fine for you, man. But yeah, Brady's a monster, and he's very similar to a guy that you play for in Gabe Kapler. You saw. I'm assuming you saw his eating habits. Was he still doing just all meat? Because I talked to him in Philly. I go, Cap, you got to mix in like some greens. Okay. You're going to shit once a week. You got to mix in something. But so was he still doing bacon and bison and grass-fed butter just nonstop?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all he does, man. Like, and he's weird. I mean, if he'll eat the fat first because he knows that's what like his body needs the most. So, he's just shredded,
So
like
shredded.
complete, just like, yeah, just jacked and like freak athlete. But yeah, you'll see him like in spring training, he would go over to the bacon and he's like ripping off the fat and like he would roll it up into like a little ball and just like put it in his mouth, and he's just like walking around with like a little bit of like bacon fat in his mouth, like, but yeah, I can't believe that he still does that, but I don't know if he still does it now, but he definitely did it last year.
I'm going to text him. I'm going to find out. Well, and Carl, that probably makes you feel a little bit better about your eating habits, right?
Yeah, I actually do prefer the bacon fat first too. I had a strip last night. Obviously, I got deep into some of the grizzle on that. What about other like workout habits? People say like you're a skinny guy. I mean, you're slender, relatively speaking. Does that bother you if someone's like, oh, he's skinny? Like, I know you work your ass off.
I mean, it used to, but honestly, I don't really care anymore. Like I throw a lot harder than a lot of like big guys. So, when I was younger, I used to say that I was aerodynamic and that's how I used to throw hard. So, I used to shave my arms and I used to say that would help too. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, that's like the one thing I always hear from fans is like, if it's windy, they're always like, "Guys, you're about to blow away," or something like that. But that's like the constant that I always get is like mix in a meal or, something like that.
I think you're doing just fine.
It's whatever.
And Mikey's seen both of us naked, and he said you got just this tremendous back, and your back muscles are phenomenal. So fans can eat a dick, and you just signed a 5-year, $100+ million deal. So I think you're doing just fine.
Boy.
Look, as far as preparation, I got to ask you this because I haven't seen you in a long time. We didn't really get to prepare together. I can kind of tell you how I would prepare for a start. I've seen how other guys prepare. I'm curious what you look for. I know that, and as well as you, we get these packets of information, and the analytical teams kind of have their own proprietary stuff. I'm sure the Blue Jays were slightly different from the Giants and the Reds and Atlanta and Baltimore and so on. But I like to look at only a few numbers. I didn't want to be bombarded with all this information. In my mind, my stuff was good enough. Just pencil in a name. I'm going to throw the exact same way to whoever's in the box. And being a 2-pitch pitcher, I feel like it's very similar for you. Do you want as much information as possible? Do you ask your analytical team for 3 or 4 things to use and kind of keep it simple, or do you like as much as possible?
Yes. I mean, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I don't ask the Blue Jays for anything. I mean, I work with Codify, Michael Fisher at Codify. And so he writes my heat maps, and honestly, like exactly what you said, I'm going to pitch the way I'm going to pitch. And, I might change a little bit based on who's in the box, but it's not going to be a matter of like, all right, I'm not going to throw this to this guy. It's more so like, all right, I'm just going to throw it in this spot, you know? And so like when I look at my maps, I mean, the cool thing about it is like, I look at my maps, I only throw, so I throw 4 pitches. Like I have a slider and a changeup too, but I look at my maps and like all the blue, which is like what I want, is fastball and split. So like if I'm going into a game and I want to throw a lot of fastballs up and splits down, and I look at my heat maps, like it's like, for me, it's just like affirmation that like, all right, do what you think you should do. And like, that's kind of the biggest difference between me now and early on in my career. Like early on in my career, it didn't matter like who I was facing. If it said like a guy really struggled against spin, I would try to get him out on spin. And like, I don't spin the ball well. Like he's not, the slider that he's seeing from me is not the same slider that he's seeing day in, day out in the big leagues, playing every day. And it took me a long time to realize that. So I was constantly like trying to get guys out, you know, like the bottom 3 guys in the lineup, I'm throwing all sliders to, trying to get them out. And then next thing you know, those are the guys that are doing damage against me. Like historically, I've always done pretty well against like, you know, the big boppers in the lineup. But then those guys that I almost like would take for granted and try to pitch, you know, against my strengths, but against their strengths too, were beating me. And so I just started being like, you know what, screw it. Like I'm gonna be a 2-pitch guy and like live and die on my bread and butter. And like, then I can live with myself, you know, because then I'm not having those like late nights where I'm like, man, I shouldn't, like, why did I throw that slider to this guy and give up that big like double in the gap? Like now I'm just going with my strength. Like if they beat me on my best 2 pitches, then like, all right, you know, like tip your cap. Like
You can live with
sometimes you just
that.
gotta tip your cap.
You can absolutely live
But
with that.
like, yeah. And so I mean, now I like all my preparation is based on being really, really good at throwing those 2 pitches.
Is that
You know?
rare?
I mean,
Between you two guys and your experience in big league club and like big league clubhouses, like are most guys walking around looking at information, or are most guys walking around being like, if I just control these 3 pitches?
I think it's now most guys are looking at information. There's no question about it. And to what extent of that information, it varies from player to player. What's extremely rare, and guys, you can comment on that too. What's extremely rare as a starter like him to be able to dominate with just 2 pitches. Like name another starter that only throws 2. Like I think that's incredible. And what you were talking about, giving up damage to, you know, guys late in the order, trying to force your slider. I used to do that all the time. And it goes the opposite too. Yeah, that guy doesn't slug well or doesn't do well in sliders, but maybe you don't have the best slider. And on the other side of that, okay, this guy hits changeup well, or he handles the split, but not your split. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of that you wanted the information and you process it as best you could, but then you had to kind of take what your stuff looks like versus kind of league average. And when I would see, okay, this guy slugs, his slug is in the top 10% on the cutter, but not my cutter. So I would say, I'm not going to get beat on my changeup when they tell me to throw the changeup. If I know that I can execute this cutter, strike the ball on the outside corner, or, backdoor cutter, which I love to throw later in my career. And that's just kind of the way I process that. And I was going to ask you about how you go about refining your spin, because I know you're still throwing it. You probably throw it on the side multiple times in between starts. What is it for you with your spin that gives you difficulty?
So I mean, honestly, now I've kind of found this gyro slider grip that is just like really confident for me, and I can just throw it, throw it and know that it's not going to move a lot. It's going to be short, but I can kind of grip it and rip it. And actually Brian Bannister, shout out to Bannister again. You know, he taught me that in San Francisco. But, you know, to be honest, like for me, looking back, COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to me. The COVID season, because it was like, that was my first year of essentially being a 2-pitch guy, like trying to throw my split 40% of the time. And I was only going to make 10 starts. So it was like, all right, like how much are teams really going to even value this season? So like, if I really shit the bed, like I'll, you know, I'm confident that I'll be able to get a job again. So it's like, just go out there and like, let's see if this works, you know? And I was probably 3 starts in and I was like, all right, I don't think I'll ever go back to being a traditional starter ever again. Cause it was like, I was just noticed the swings that I was getting. And like, I felt like I had every hitter in this like limbo of like, they were either really sped up or they were really slowed down. And the more I could throw my fastball like higher and throw my split down, then it just made that like separation even greater. And so it was like, then when I did miss on a split, there was like maybe middle, because I've established my fastball up in the zone so much, there was that leeway that I could get away with it, you know? And so it was like, that was when it was like a big light bulb was like, all right, I'm getting swings like I was getting in high school. You know, guys are fouling off my fastball like over our dugout. It's like so late on it. And then I got more confident with the slider. It was just like, all right, let's just go out and attack, you know, like be the aggressor. And like one thing that nobody talks about now that I love this season is like having the pitch calm, because it just makes things go. And like you make these hitters step out. I mean, I probably get 5 or 6 guys to step out because I'm ready to go and they have to, you know, put their hand up. And like that just even more so has them like up against the ropes because they're like, fuck, this guy's on me, you know, like he's ready to go. He's, especially if you're attacking the zone, as you know, you just feel like you're like, you know, on the gas constantly. Like I'm coming at you. And the more that I can pound the zone, then the more inclined you're going to chase outside of it because you think I'm going to pound the zone, you know?
When you take over the timing of a bat and the inning, it changes things drastically and swings things in your favor. As you know, when the hitter is able to get in the box and get comfortable, get his footing and kind of do his pre-swing routine, there's comfort there. And that doesn't always equate to success, but it helps. So that's something I never thought about with the pitch com. At first, when I saw it, I'm like, you got to be shitting me. These guys they have a buzzer in their hat and there's this monitor on the catcher's wrist guard. But when you explain it like that, I mean, I can buy into that. That's a huge benefit for you, especially when you're rolling. My one complaint is there not a better way to do it? Is it like some big sensor in your hat? Is that how you do it?
Yeah. So it's a big thing. It's like probably this long and skinny.
And what does it do? Does it buzz or does it say?
No, it just says the pitch. So it'll be like fastball down and away.
That's pretty
Splitter.
Cool, man.
That's all it says. Cool.
Splitter. What's the voice? Is it your catcher's voice or is it just like a pre-recorded robot?
It's just a robot. Yeah. I don't know. We always joke that like, you know, like Kikuchi or like Ryu, we need to get like Korean and Japanese for them, you know, so they can like understand.
Absolutely, man. And so they don't have that, because I heard that Austin Hedges had something where he recorded that said like, fuck yeah, when a guy would like execute a pitch or something like that, he could hit it and it would say that into his hat. Y'all can't record your own stuff?
I mean, I'm sure we can. We have picks on it, you know, we have like infielders can wear it. So you can have 4 guys wearing it. So, but then there was an issue. So like, I forget what team it was. We played some team, our first baseman had it. Well, like sometimes like if it's quiet, you know, and there's not much like crowd noise, like you can hear it. So if there's a guy on first base, like he was hearing it and telling the coach, and the coach is relaying it to the dugout, and then they're trying to relay it to the hitter. So it's like anything, like anytime you bring technology in, like, I mean, is it a radio frequency? Like, someone can definitely tap into that then. So like, and like, there's definitely an issue with like, if it's loud, you can't hear it. So it's like, all right, if we're making this whole thing for like the postseason so that postseason games aren't 7 hours long, like, you better turn that thing up as loud as it can go, or have like maybe a buzzer that buzzes like, a certain amount of times. Like, they got to figure out something, but I actually really like it so far.
Well, it's good to hear that. And I've seen a lot of guys use it. Some guys won't use it. Are there any guys on your team that don't like it?
Yeah, Manoa refuses to use it, which I think is weird because like he's a young guy.
Yeah.
And probably doesn't have like, the most extensive signs, out at second. So, but not many guys get to second base against him. So I think he's all right.
That's a good point. Like if you don't want your sign stolen, keep the guys off second base.
Yep.
That's right.
And one thing that kind of jumps out listening to you guys talk, like, I just want to make an observation, like, and Jake, I know this about you personally, like when you would travel on the road, you'd like to, go see what the city has to offer and stuff. I'm not saying like be out super late, but like you like to get out around town. And it seemed like you were pretty good at being able to be detached from the fact that like, okay, we've got this road series, whatever. It's a big series against the Padres. That still is not going to hold you back from, like going for a hike or doing whatever, trying to enjoy yourself. And as I'm listening to you guys talk about your stuff and your approach, like, is it because you guys have this simple, like, well, I'm just going to execute my game plan? Like, Kevin, are you able to get away from baseball pretty easily, like on the road or at home or something, because of your approach where you're like, I'm a 2-pitch guy, I know what I'm doing, I got my heat maps, like, as opposed to being stressed out, like, I've got to take care of this and this. Like, does that mentality you guys have the mound allow you guys to like have more fun away from the field?
Yeah, I mean, for me, for sure. Like, I definitely feel more, more confident in the last like couple years, just knowing that, like, I'm gonna pitch with my strengths, and like, there's a big part of me that like, I know I'm putting all the work in, the days in between my starts, that like whatever happens on start day, is not for like lack of trying, like I've done everything I can. I've prepared, I've recovered as well as I could possibly recover. So like now it's just about going out there and competing. And like, like some days you're just not gonna like, I would love to go 7 shutout every single start. That would be great, but like that's unrealistic and that's not gonna happen all the time. And the game and like the day dictates how things are gonna go. Like sometimes you're gonna throw 100 pitches in 4 innings. Like that's just, they just foul off a lot of pitches. But I think too, like for me, having like ever since I started a family, that definitely has helped with some of that. Like before, it was like my life was all about baseball. It was like from the second I woke up, it was like, all right, when am I going to the field? Like I need to go to Starbucks. I need to make sure to get my coffee before I go to the field. And there were so many things that I had to do. And then as Jake knows, like then you have kids and it's like, you can't do that, like it's just unrealistic to be able to think that you can do the things that you used to do. And it was like, if I did do those things, then I'm, not spending time with my kids. So it's like, so now really like when I'm home, when I'm in Toronto, I mean, there's no such thing as an off day, like I got 2 kids. So it's like, I just hang out with the kids all day and it's great. And so now for me, like my time to kind of get rest and recover is when we go on the road, but I definitely like to get out and about, like, depending on the city that I'm in, for sure.
Having a family definitely changes things, because when you come home, the kids don't give a shit if you throw a shutout or if you gave up 6 runs. When you get home,
Yeah.
it's time to be dad. And having a family, it's a beautiful thing. And it allows you to kind of create and clear some of that headspace. And before kids, guys that didn't have kids, they go home to their dog. And they're, again, same kind of thing. Dog doesn't care. Only thing the dog knows is it wants to spend time with you. And I was always a big advocate especially for young players, to experience the cities, get out and see things, because if all you do is baseball all the time and that's it, it's going to drive you nuts. Because when things are going well, it's great. But how often are we just raking or just dominant and dialed in all season? So to have things that you can spend time on away from the game that are positive influences in your life with other people, especially teammates, the better off you're going to be for it. So you're exactly right. I'm glad that you've been able to kind of figure those things out. And obviously with kids, you have no other choice. And Mikey tells me you're a phenomenal dad and you love your kids. And that's great, man. But you're in St. Louis and you're only there for 2 days. So I'm going to tell you, you pitch tomorrow. You need to go to half and half for breakfast. Are you staying?
Half and half.
You got to go to half and half. Are you in Clayton or are you downtown?
We're downtown.
Okay. All right. You going to gamble while you're there?
I was planning on it. Yeah.
Yeah. You should go tomorrow. Get up, go to half and half. Maybe take a couple of your teammates, and then slide next door to Simon's and say hello to my buddy. I know I've seen you in Rolexes. I know you like watches, right?
Yeah.
All right. So slide over to
right.
Simon. Yeah. Go say hi to Simon. Yeah. He'll take care of you. But half and half is the spot to go for coffee and breakfast. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I do have the last thing before we go. I prepare just like this is quick rapid fire. This isn't like heavy hitting stuff. This is just like quick rapid fire. Kevin Gausman, I just want to get to know you a little bit more. It's not necessarily a trust exercise, but if you want to be open and honest with me, that would make this much better.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1. You are a professional baseball player. I would assume at some point, though, you dreamt of being something else. Did you have another job when you were a little kid or something that you wanted to be?
I was a lifeguard for 3 days. And I did not like the pressure of it, so I quit.
Yeah.
See, he's got the swimmer's back, though. Told you.
That's right. Swimmer's back.
When did you retire the circle change for the split?
So I still throw the circle change. I just like flip it in there early in the count. I found early on in my career, my split was my only changeup that I threw. And I found that guys would just spit on it, if I never threw it for a called strike. And so now it's funny because like hitters won't give you credit for throwing two changeups or like a changeup and a split, even though they'll give you credit for throwing a curve and a slider. They just won't give you credit for throwing a split and changeup. So
what do you mean by that? What do you mean they won't give you credit?
They won't believe that you do it.
Oh,
they'll believe that you're lying. They're like, no, you don't really do that. That was just a bad split. Well, so if I throw a changeup for a called strike early in the game, and then I get him out 2 pitches later, the first thing that guy is going to do when he gets in the dugout is he's going to tell him like his split's not moving, or his split looks just like his fastball. Go get it. Like it's up in the zone. And so all I have to do is throw 2 or 3 changeups early in the game for a called strike that they think is my split. And then they're like, all right, he's throwing it for a strike, because the majority of the times they go into the game and they're like, don't swing it as split unless it's like up in zone, unless it's going to be a called strike. Well, so they'll take some splits, maybe some like really good, like strike the ball splits. So if I can throw a changeup for a called strike, then they're like, oh, all right, he's hanging his split. And then, so if I can throw a changeup early in the count for a called strike, the hitter like 100% is going to chase the split later in the count.
Is the split really difficult for you to throw for strike because of the movement? And if you try and throw for strike, you start it too high and risk, hanging one.
Yeah,
right?
I just change the sights. Yeah. I just change the sights higher if I want to throw it for a strike. But I never want to throw it for a strike.
Well, what if now I have to know. I have another quote, but this is like a side that I do have to know. If I see you throw with runners on first and second or something, 2 outs, runners on second and third, 1 out, and I see 3-1 and I see you throw, is that a split, swing and miss over the plate? You go double split, 3-1, 3-2, or are you throwing a change there?
I mean, I'll go 3-2. I'll go split all day. 3-2 is the highest swing percentage in like count in baseball. So I'm going with my swing and miss pitch.
Guys don't want to go down looking. That's for sure.
Yeah.
One, I would think, like he was saying, Carl, that your changeup is predominantly used early in the game to show it for a strike. Because if you go out there in the first inning and you're spinning your breaking stuff and it's all outside the strike zone, they'll just disregard it. They'll look for something straight. So I'm sure you've done it before, but in high leverage situations, guys on base, it's a close game. I doubt that you're throwing that circle change. Is that correct?
No, I mean, I definitely have, but yeah, more often than not, I'm going to go with my best pitch, and like, I almost want to get a t-shirt that just says when in doubt, throw a split, because that's like my mindset,
If you want, we'll make that shirt.
We'll
with
make it for you right now.
We will have that shirt in this. It'll be like the Kevin Gausman shirt. We'll do some like proceeds to charity or something. We will have that shirt up in literally after you make your start against. I wanted to make this clear too. We're recording this interview before you pitch against the Cardinals. So if it goes really well, obviously Jake and I are going to take all the credit, and whatever. If it doesn't, just come on next week or something. We'll catch up. Okay, I have a couple more quick. All right, ready?
All right. Yeah.
All right. This is serious shit, dude. All right. So you have two very extreme numbers to your name and your reputation as a starting pitcher. I'm curious, which one are you more proud of? The first being an extremely low walk rate. You have the lowest walk rate in baseball. You are also known as somebody who never gives up home runs. Which one are you feeling more proud of right now?
Oh man. I would say, based on myself early in my career, the home run stat. Because like pitching in the AL East for 5.5 years, Dodger Stadium, all those like tiny ballparks, I gave up a lot of home runs for a long time. And so, definitely happy that I feel like I'm, just being more so just being the aggressor and getting in favorable counts. That's more so the reason than anything. Not getting in as many like 3-0, 3-1, 2-1 counts, where the hitter's trying to really take advantage and do damage.
You're a Colorado bro who went to LSU. You are an American living in Canada. Which has been a harder transition in your life?
Oh man. I would say Colorado to Louisiana, because like Louisiana is its own country. It really is. It's people are super weird there, and like the accents down there are great. I love the food, the accents. Southern hospitality is a real thing. Like, they'll give you the shirt off their back if they need to, and so I just kind of love that, but going to Toronto, it's been cool, man. It's been really different. Like, such a unique city. As Jake knows, like, playing there as much as we did, like, one thing that is really cool is just having like one team for the entire country, like that's just like, I just can't really wrap my head around that yet, but it still is just the coolest thing to think about, like, if we can go make a run at this thing and go to the World Series, like representing an entire country would be super cool.
Hell yeah, dude. John Elway or Joe Burrow?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I gotta go Joey B. Joey B. I was at the national championship game. The guy is an absolute stud. Just super cool to watch him. What he was able to do with the Bengals last year was just incredible. And hopefully they can be there every year, because they were really, really exciting team to watch, and felt like everybody kind of became a Bengals fan.
I got one for you real quick.
Yeah. Yep.
So we got the baseball regionals and super regionals coming up, man. I went to TCU. You went to LSU. You played with my boy Nola. Does that 2012 super regional still haunt you a little bit? I know it's been a long time, but that was rough.
Man, it's crazy, because once a year I'll have somebody while I'm warming up for a game that'll say something about Stony Brook. I'll just hear the word Stony Brook, and it just like sets me off.
Drives you nuts. I bet.
Fucking Stony Brook. just like, yeah, but I mean, that's probably like the one thing in baseball that I constantly like look back on. I'm just like, man, never went to the College World Series, like if I could just go back and, but they were a good team. And I mean, they came into LSU and they were fearless, man. Like most teams come into those environments and just kind of shut down. And they were the exact opposite. They just came in and kind of rised up their level of play. And, I'll give them a lot of credit, but they had a good team. They had some big leaguers on that team, Janikowski, so,
Yep.
Yeah, they've been pretty good.
Tough, man. Yeah. So how's LSU doing? Did they win the SEC, or that tournament's going on soon, isn't it? How are they doing
this weekend?
Yeah, next weekend. So I think they finished all right. They started out really bad. I want to say they're like 16th in the country right now. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I know against the SEC they didn't do very well this year. They have some really good hitters. Their pitching is pretty young, so hopefully in the next hopefully next year, after this year, gaining some experience, they can kind of toe the rubber and shut down some teams. But they got 2 kids on their team that'll probably be first rounders next season. So both hitters.
They pump them out, man. That's a tough league, real tough league.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. we couldn't pass the regional both of my years, so I don't have any room to say shit. So
second to last question is how many wins for the LSU football team?
Oh, coming up this next year, I'm gonna go 6. I'm gonna go 6 wins.
It's a program in transition.
Yeah, unfortunately.
This is my last question for you, Kevin. Obviously, this time, all your career in the big leagues, your experience in baseball, being at the top, I really thoroughly enjoyed both you guys talking about the realization of, hey, my shit's just not good enough at this level, and I have to make some adjustments. And a lot of baseball players seriously go through that, whether like at 14 years old or 17 years old, or when they get to college. Like the fact you went through LSU, dominated, and still didn't have that kind of aha moment. So I'm bringing all this up because I think like at this point in your career, all the stuff that's gone in your career, how does to you, like a perfect 2022 season or the last second half chapter of your career, what is the thing you want to win? Is it a World Series? Is it a Cy Young? Is it continuing to just dominate at the top of the league and not really worry about that stuff? Like really at the end of the day, when Kevin Gausman puts his head on the fucking pillow at the end of the night, like what is the one thing that you want at the end of your baseball career?
I mean, a championship, without a doubt. I've been in the postseason a couple of times, never been to a World Series. I've only made one postseason start, and that was last season with the Giants. And I'll never forget that moment, like the pure adrenaline, like give that to me constantly, like whatever that is, I'll take it every single day if I could. But yeah, for me, I mean, I'm a big on respect. Like for me, I just want to be respected, and like I just want to be respected and felt like I'm one of the best. And I think for me, in my mind, if I can go and pitch the way that I know that I can, I think I can go down as one of the best splits in the game, in the last 50 years. And so for me, that's definitely one thing I'm striving towards. But the biggest thing is winning. I came to Toronto because I think this team has the ability to win multiple championships, and we have the talent to do it. I mean, the guys on this team, the level of talent, the level of baseball IQ, the experience that we have, just all comes together really well. And we have a good mix of young guys still trying to kind of make their mark, and also some guys who have kind of been there and done it. And so, we got some guys in the minor leagues that we're really excited about too. And so, I just think if we can if we can kind of hit the ground running, in the next couple of years, I think we can do some pretty incredible things for the city of Toronto. And, more than anything, that's what I want. I want a championship. I want to parade, I want to be the last team standing. And with that, I would love to, pitch game 7 of the World Series. I would love to at least get in there, whether it's out of the pen, whether it's starting, like I could care less, but that's a moment. I've pitched it millions of times in my mind, in my backyard with my dad. And so, now it's about making those things happen and doing something special, and just helping the young guys on the team to kind of try to figure this league out, I guess.
That's an answer that you're going to get from pretty much any player you ask. And I think that's just kind of customary around baseball. Everybody wants that championship. I think we'd all throw away all the other accolades for that. And that's what team players do. That's what team players want. And you guys ultimately seem built for that type of run. You guys have had a nice year. You've had some ups and downs. It's obviously a very tough division, but in my mind, you guys have the rotation. You guys have the lineup to get the job done. And led by a guy like yourself, I don't see any reason you guys couldn't make a deep run into October.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, it's just a really fun group. It's we keep it loose, and we're just. I'm just excited to be a part of it. And some of these young guys that they have on this team are going to be playing for the Blue Jays for a long, long time. And so I think if you're a Blue Jays fan right now, you got to be super excited about the team that you're watching play.
Well, I'm a Cubs fan. I hope you guys go out and beat the shit out of the Cardinals this week. Thank you so much for jumping on and spending time with us, man. Good luck.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, guys. Great seeing you, man. Best of luck. And remember, go to half and half tomorrow.
Man.
All right, dog.
Yeah, for sure. See y'all.
So that's Kevin Gausman. Great hair, a great starting pitcher. The 2-pitch stuff I love. And probably what I like most is that we already have that shirt in the store. Like that conversation just happened. Oh my God, we just had that conversation 2 seconds ago and we've already sold that shirt in the store. So if you enjoyed that interview, go check it out. Yeah.
It was very good. And it was great to have him. And it's nice when, guys are on the road and obviously busy and getting in town late and doing interviews with us. So appreciate that, Kev. And we'll be following you. Look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I learned a couple things there. I'm going to tell you what I learned, but first I'm going to re-encourage our audience to go check out that shirt that you guys designed, the seam shifted wake thing. I think that's kind of a ridiculous shirt that we are putting out there right now. That Chicks Dig seam shifted wake.
And they will.
I didn't even know that existed.
We didn't know it existed. And I'm glad he brought that up because, you watch guys like him pitch and you see this stuff move the way it does on TV. And you're like, there's got to be something else to that pitch. The philosophy is this. We have tried to teach pitchers different pitch grips and different arm angles, different deliveries to create certain types of movement, certain types of break on these pitches. And what people are finding out is through research and through tinkering with the orientation of the baseball itself, rather than trying to adjust a guy's hand position, arm slot, arm angle, all of that stuff. Certain guys can orient the seams in a certain way that create this shift in the turbulence and the way that the ball interacts with the resistance from the air as it's on its way to the plate. And can everybody do this by orienting the seams a certain way? No, that's definitely not going to be the case. Certain guys just have that God-given ability when it's combined with orienting the baseball in a certain way out of your hand. So there's a lot of interesting literature and research on this topic, and it's really cool to see the way the ball will interact with the wind resistance. There's a lot of figures and a lot of models online that you can find. If you just type in like seam shifted wake, you can see like the turbulence on one side of the baseball being created based on how the ball is spinning on the axis. I saw one interesting clip of a right-handed pitcher throwing a four seam and then so throwing a one seam. So basically just orienting the seams in a certain way to where there was one seam in between the pitcher's fingers versus a four seam. He would throw, instead of throwing like this across the seams, he had one seam like that, and the ball would spin slightly different, creating the shift in the wake. And rather than having to, like I said before, rather than having to change the arm angle or any specific grip or way you try and throw the pitch, you just orient the seams a certain way, and it causes that insane change in movement that to the hitter is not typical what they're accustomed to seeing. It's almost like the ball it seems like it's there, and then the next second it disappears. And Gausman's split is indeed one of those pitches.
Yeah.
Very, very strange.
So like, as you're talking through this stuff, I'm just curious if talking and reading about it, are you like, man, this would have been nice to know 10 years ago?
I mean, maybe, but I tinkered with pitches all the time, playing catch in between starts. Even if it was pitches, I wish I had a baseball with me. That's my fault. For the show from now on, I'm gonna have a baseball sitting near me. But I would throw a four seam, and then I would tilt the ball just ever so slightly, and I would throw that, and I would tilt it a little bit more and throw that. And same thing with the cutter. I threw my cutter on the bottom of the horseshoe, the bottom right corner of the horseshoe, with my thumb on the seam underneath. And in every one of my pitches, I was trying to find as many seams as I could hold on to as possible for better grip, to create tighter spin. So I was always doing that stuff on the two seam. I typically threw it with just a slight gap in my fingers. Sometimes I would increase that gap a little bit, or even shrink the gap a little bit, and just see what the ball would do. And we started using the Rapsodo quite often, especially in bullpens, and we had the slow motion cameras, so you could see exactly how the ball comes out of your hand and what the spin looks like, what the axis looks like as it comes out of your hand. So yeah, it's really cool for guys to have this detailed information and have teams of people around them that can actually help you break it down, rather than just seeing numbers on a screen and trying to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. So the Giants are supposed to be one of these teams, right? That's like just super, super, super ahead of the curve. And I remember it was like maybe 10, 12 years ago, I was coming out of graduate school and I was applying to major league front offices and trying to get like my foot in the door there. I had a master's in accounting. I was going to law school, just bought Rosetta Stone so I could teach myself Spanish. I was like, dude, do this. Like, I'm going to be part of this. And part of that process at that time in like 2010 was a big question out there was like, if you're trying to get into a front office, what statistic or quantitative measurement can you bring to the table? And at that time, everybody was trying to be like Bill James. They were trying to put together like the next weighted runs created plus, and how we've joked around in the show, like, oh, we should create our own statistic. And so at that time, it was like, oh, you have to create a statistic or a number. And I remember it was like, I read something. I was like talking to somebody, my buddy who was from Villanova, was applying to front offices. And he was like, hey, I just actually started pitching people in my intern interviews on biometric quantitative measurements. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you even talking about? And he was like, no, dude, there's more data out there now where it's not just about the batting average and the home runs and the parks and all the stuff. He's like, they're literally measuring the biomechanical aspects of the game. And this is like 10 years ago, like underground kind of like sabermetric stuff. And so to like sit there and listen to Kevin Gausman explain seam shifted wake as some sort of proprietary measurement from the Giants, and knowing that there's like somebody for like 10 years has probably been sitting around trying to put together what's the right measurement, what's the right formula and stuff. And so for him to be sitting here talking about how it's helped him is like, I'm getting long-winded. It's fucking, I'm sorry, I've got to work on the language. It's crazy to me. It's crazy. Let's stay poisonous. Let's stay filthy. Let's stay nasty. That was a bad transition. I do want to get your take on this. We are opening back up the Filth Meter. We talked about advanced statistics. This is a segment that we very much enjoy. If you're filthy, if you're dirty, this should be sponsored. If you're a bad boy,
it will get picked up.
Yeah, like I would like one of the sex enhancing companies where it's like, oh, here's the swipe or the blue. Somebody get into this and be like, oh, you've been a bad boy. Have you been filthy? Have you been nasty? Have you been naughty? So let's do the Filth Meter. Who's filthy? Who's a bad boy? Who's a bad boy? I
have 5 names down just because I feel like that you have to talk about at least a few of these. And one, it's part of the game that I watched last night, but Shane McClanahan with Tampa. He's one of my front runners for the Cy Young in the American League. He's the type of guy that you would expect to see out of the bullpen, this high octane lefty as a starter. He's 95 to 100 miles an hour with just a wipeout slider and a changeup that it's like it's like Patrick Sandoval's changeup, except McClanahan throws 100 miles an hour. He's virtually unhittable at times. I believe that he will throw a no-hitter this season. Very, very fun to watch. I think he went 6 innings. Didn't give up any runs. He was pitching against Lopez, who's filthy in his own right. But just anytime he's on TV, I got to watch him. Mm-hmm. And he reminds me a little bit of the next guy on my list, and Blake Snell. We talked about Blake last night, and if we need to get him healthy for a full season, because when he's out there, he's just absolutely dominant. I think that he could potentially be a perennial Cy Young candidate. He throws his slider now at like 90, 91 miles an hour. It looks like a fastball until it's just 3 or 4 feet from the plate. Righties just cannot lay off of it. He's got a really big curveball. He's got a changeup that he'll use, but he doesn't need to. And I think he's one of the most important pieces for the Padres. They have a phenomenal starting rotation, and with Blake Snell in there healthy, they're only that much better. Next guy on my list, Corbin Burns, who faced off against Blake Snell last night. He's got a 50% or just over a 50% whiff rate on his curveball. And when you think about Corbin Burns, I think most people would probably think about, his 98 mile an hour sinker or his 97 mile an hour cutter. But in reality, his curveball could be his best pitch. It gets to the plate. You can't lay off of it because you have to sit hard. You're either sitting on the slider, you're either sitting on the cutter or the fastball that's just bearing down your knuckles. And then you get an 83 mile an hour curveball that you just can't lay off. So Corbin Burns, Cy Young winner last year, with a shot to win another one. A guy that I just saw recently, not a starting pitcher, but Penn Murphy from Seattle. He's got that arm slot that's kind of right here at 180 degrees. He's got a Frisbee slider. I mean, it's starting behind right-handed hitters. It looks like it's going to hit you in the hip, and then it's on the outside corner. Really, really nasty. Love watching him pitch. And then my last guy is Duran from Minnesota. All you guys have seen him throw. The most impressive pitch he throws is not the 102 mile an hour heater. It's the 98 mile an hour split, or they call it what was the name? They had some other name for it, but I've never seen a guy throw a split at 98 miles an hour. It's just, it's got to be one of those seam shifted wake pitches too. Look, Carl, look into that. Mm-hmm. Colin, look into that, and we'll talk about it next time a little bit more extensively. But Duran has got a 98 mile an hour split. I mean, guys would give their left nut to be able to throw a fastball anywhere close to that velocity, and this guy's throwing his split that hard. So he should be the Minnesota closer for the next 10 years if he can dial it in and refine some things a little bit. But I mean, just so filthy, it's not even fair. So those are 5 guys I had in there. Maybe the filth meter on those guys is a 10. It's a fucking 10. Sorry, I had to throw it in there. They're so gross. And the stuff in today's game, it's just on another level. It's I don't even know what
It
else to
is.
say. It's just absolute filth.
No disrespect to those who came before us, but as I was coming up and watching baseball in like the mid 2000s and stuff, it seemed like teams would have a 4 or 5 and it would be a guy who threw like 90 with like a decent curve and like a chance. Like it was almost like the Pirates were putting guys out there to be sacrificed. You don't see that. You don't see like, and again, I mean, back then too, you're going to hear people say, well, they're still big. Like they were guys in the big leagues. He's obviously very good. But if you compare, I mean, 20 years ago, if you just took the average stuff, like from a regular series and you just stacked it up to what you have now. Yeah. Everybody's nasty. Everybody's filthy. And I think it's the training. I really do. I think you're able at a young age to figure out right away. Like when we were coming up, like you might think that it was known how to gain velocity, that it was like a known thing across college and amateur and JUCO guys and stuff. It fucking was not. 2008, 9, whatever, 2005. Like, it wasn't like guys coming up in the big leagues were like, oh yeah, you got to do this weighted ball training thing. And there were these different types, or like fucking YouTube hardly even existed at that time, of where there would be like this content of people being like, hey, I'm a sports exercise, expert. And there's just so much information out there that you can use to your advantage. And it's cool to see like the guys that are really good in the big leagues right now. And I shouldn't say it like this. I should say it like this. The players that are emerging into the big leagues right now, and the players that will continue to emerge in the big leagues, will continue to be the players that are like, and it's always been, but the most driven guys, the most that are most willing on their own to independently figure their shit out. The guys, and I know that's probably how it is now, but it's just going to keep moving that way.
You're right. There's so much more baseball specific stuff that guys are doing in the off season. You have groups of guys that are going to these training facilities and learning all the biomechanics. They're learning all of the baseball metrics as it leaves your hand. They're all using Rapsodos. They're all using slow motion cameras. And what they're doing now that we didn't do as much when I was coming up, and no one really did this as much. They're practicing throwing hard all the time. You see these guys crow hopping and firing into those big screens, like in indoor facilities. And they're doing that on a consistent basis, like all the time. And I tell Cooper, Cooper's only 10, but I tell all young kids, I say, the only way to throw hard is to practice throwing hard. You have to, you can't just, warm up and play catch and then take them out and expect to like know how to exert what I would consider close to maximum effort without doing it on a repetitive basis. So it's never really, you don't want these young kids like throwing their arm out and throwing hard repetitively over and over and over all the time every day. But there are times with proper warm-up routines and proper shoulder care, you have to throw hard and you have to practice throwing hard in order to do that and to get better at it. So that's what guys are doing so much better now than they ever have before, is they are diving deep into what it takes to gain velocity. They are surrounding themselves with teams of people that understand the science and the biomechanics of the throwing motion, and they're taking advantage of that. And that is, I think one of the biggest reasons we're seeing such an uptick in velocity is guys' willingness and desire to maximize their potential within their skill set. And maybe, a lot of these guys 10 years ago wouldn't throw as hard as they are now. And I think the main reason is because not only the increase in information and the very, very analytically smart guys that are surrounding these baseball players, but it's just it's the practice of throwing a baseball as hard as you can. That's the only way you're ever going to learn how to throw hard, is by doing it over and over and over again.
We have a little bit left here, a couple minutes left here. Do you want to do a starting 9?
Yeah, we should do that. And guys, hey, don't forget to subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, unsubscribe and resubscribe. That damn algorithm, we need your help. And again, Thanks for being a part of the show with us. Let's get into that starting 9.
And comment too. I meant to say that's part of the algorithm. That's one of the pieces.
Comment and again, help us. I don't know if we're not creative enough. I know I'm left brain, but we need a name change. And is that on us?
We're going to get there.
For not figuring this out.
We're going to get there. Starting 9 with the hair. Let's 9.
Go.
Your
Let's
9.
Go. My 9. Okay. I've got 20 names down here because just the hair is so good. I'm going to give you, you know what, whatever. Let's go. I'm going to start with my catcher because my pitching is just, there's so many good heads of hair. My catcher is Jorge Alfaro. Have you seen that lettuce lately?
Gee, oh my God.
It's gorgeous. Jorge Alfaro behind the dish. At first base, I've got Eric Hosmer. He's always got it super tightened up. And there's a couple guys on the starting 9 that are similar hairstyles, but it's like, it's kind of got the point in the back. He's got it tightened up around the sides. It's very short. It's kind of in a mohawk. I mean, the eyebrows, the beard, the mustache, it's all just super tight. My second baseman, I'm putting him at second base, even though he's a shortstop, Dansby Swanson. He's got a great face. He's got a gorgeous head of hair. He's a Vanderbilt guy. It's just the whole package. My shortstop is going to be Brandon Crawford. Again, sometimes the hair looks wet, which I'm not as big of a fan of the wet look. I like it when it's got bounce to it, but he's got a gorgeous face. He's got some good facial hair. It's the whole package for me. My third baseman, where is my third baseman?
I'm surprised. I thought there was one that was going to jump out right away for you.
I mean, look at me. I'm all over the map. I don't have a third baseman on here. So
do you want me to do your third baseman? Because I know who it should be.
No. So I'm going to, let's move Dansby to third base. Cause come on, he could play third base. I'm going to put, we're going to put, I want Tatis in there. So I'm going to put Tatis in there too. I like the headband. I like the dreads. He's got like the bottom portion of the dreads partially dyed, and when he like takes the hat off or the helmet off, he like slings it back, and it's sexy. It just looks good. Left field, Chris Bryant. Just a sexy man. Big tall guy, good voice, good personality. Again, it's like the faux hawk. It's always tightened up on the sides. Beard always looks good. Center fielder, this is the only guy who's not a current player. I went Coco Crisp. Big, heavy afro. And I think he rocked the cornrow for a while. Coco Crisp is my center fielder. Right field, we have Charlie Blackmon. The mullet. I love the mullet. He's got some curls in there. So that's my outfield. So I'm just gonna rattle off some pitchers for you because I couldn't pick one. Aaron Nola. It's a mix between a perm and a mullet. Okay. And one of my favorite Aaron Nola sightings throughout the day, just walking around, is when he would contrast. He would sit in the hot tub, cold tub every day religiously. He walked in the clubhouse and he's in his sliders, and he's got the rubber gloves on with tape around his wrists, and he's walking through the clubhouse in his sliders, in his rubber gloves with his wrist taped. And I'm like, why do you have gloves on? You look like a serial killer or something. He's like, so my fingers don't get pruny in the water. So that's what he was doing.
Wow.
I'm gonna go with another pitcher. I'm gonna go Tyler Glasnow. Beautiful long flowing hair.
Friend of the program.
He's going to come on the podcast. I forgot my DH Bryce Harper. There's no better hair than Harper.
I mean, he's just such a good looking baseball player that, like, to put him on a list is like, yeah, Bryce. I like Bryce is handsome in a way that like reminds me of some of these teammates I've had over the years that were just like, they were dumb about how handsome they were because they had just been handsome their whole lives that they're like didn't get that there are guys like me walking around this place being like, hey, what's up? Like,
Yeah.
they're good looking.
Well, he's had the really long hair and anywhere in between, long and short. It just always looks good. He knows what he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good list.
It's a good list.
We're going to the mound. We're going to take Bronson Arroyo first off.
Oh, I had him on here too. Because the
And
cornrows?
Not cornrows. The cornrows thing was like, that was aggressive. That was interesting. It was when he was pitching and he was doing all the goofy leg kick shit, and he had the long blonde flowing hair.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
You know that he lived on a houseboat in spring training?
Why? How?
Just
Well,
that's what he did.
Was
and then
he
he had the houseboat like driven up or not driven up, whatever. He had it brought to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know. Sorry, I have to ask. Was it like the houseboat the way Joe Madden has a van, or was it like I have a houseboat the way that like Lenny Dykstra has like a drug addiction?
I think it's maybe a hybrid of those.
Like, could he control it, or was it like a thing? He was like, yeah, I want the houseboat. Okay. Catcher, Mike Piazza. I just, when it was wet and it was like, he had that good 90s look. My first baseman is John Kruk. Do we like that?
Yeah, I do. Because that was like a mullet too, right? It was, big poofy on top. And then kind of, I don't know, kind of like thin on the bottom. I don't know. It kind of looked like he's straightened it at times.
Mm-hmm.
He rips heaters too. You guys would get along.
No, does he?
Oh yeah.
Crookie.
Like John Daly.
With my second baseman is Mickey Morandini. And Morandini he was like a mercenary the Cubs signed one year, and then they made the playoffs, and it was awesome because he played for the Phillies and he was tough, and he went to Indiana. He was kind of like a local guy. We don't have a lot of local guys in Chicago, even though it's not even close to Chicago, but it's like, oh, Big Ten guy. We take pride in that. We're going to go over to third base. I'm very surprised you didn't take this. His hair is always wet. This is some of the wettest hair in baseball. I'm taking Anthony Rendon.
Ooh, that's a good move. I didn't even think about him.
And then at shortstop, I hate his guts, but Ryan Theriot had sweet hair at one point. I hate his guts because he went to, I know I'm St. Louis Cardinals fans that get mad at me. I respect the Cardinals. You guys beat the shit out of us. When I talk shit about the Cardinals, it's purely from an emotional place. It has nothing to do with the quality of their baseball.
Yeah, I don't remember much about his hair. He had good hair, huh?
Outfield is where we get real interesting here. I went wet Jerry Curl in left field. I'm taking young Tony Gwynn.
Man, I've never even seen his head of hair.
Oh man, Tony Gwynn, Jerry Curl is the hat. He didn't even wear the hat over his head. It was just like the hat on top of the Jerry Curl. It was unbelievable.
Oh wow, that's glorious.
Center field, I'm taking a guy who's probably conceived on a houseboat. This is like classic. I don't know if he's from Ozarks, but he's like definitely vacations there. I'm taking Colby Rasmus in center field. And talk about a Maine.
Yeah, yeah, just hillbilly.
Yeah, just jean shorts and a pack of cigs. And then right field, I'm taking an Illinois guy. I'm taking Jason Worth.
That's an easy pick. He's on my list too.
Yeah.
He's
a handsome guy. All right, so I'm gonna run my 1 through 9 again. It's my 1 through 9. Bronson Arroyo, Mike Piazza, John Kruk at first base, Morandini at second base, Anthony Rendon at third base. I've got Theriot at shortstop. I'm taking Tony Gwynn, wet Jerry Curl in left field. I'm taking Colby Rasmus in center field with the big gorgeous mane. In right field, I'm taking the Bear, Jason Worth. There's my 1 through 9. Jake, read through your 1 through 9 one more time.
Nice. All right, it's a total shit show, but I had Alfaro behind the plate. I had Hosmer at first base, and then Colin, you can do what you want with these, but I had Swanson, Brandon Crawford, and Fernando Tatis as my infield. I had you didn't pick a DH. I had Harper as my DH. I had Chris Bryant in left field. I had Coco Crisp in center field, and then Charlie Blackmon at right. And it was so hard to pick, starting pitching with this. And who was my starter? Did I tell you?
Yeah, it was Nola.
Oh, I did. Aaron Nola. I mean, I almost went with Chris Paddock, Jeff Samardzija, Glass now. Corbin Burns has beautiful hair. Yeah.
Okay, housekeeping. Colin, what do we like about this? Book? One of my all-time favorite segments. Housekeeping.
Housekeeping, you want towels?
Oh, towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
Okay, so we have some stuff around the show. Tuesday's episode was shorter. This episode was longer. I think the format's going to settle in. It may not be as long as these ones are right now, but so just so you guys in the audience is kind of following us along, like Tuesday, catch up, week recap, series, we're going to go through some awards and stuff and kind of make you feel like you're in a position. Like if you miss some stuff over the weekend, we got you covered. And then obviously Thursday, we're going to have more in-depth stuff like we did with Kevin Gausman. Tons of light bulbs going off in my head. I'll write blogs about those. Go read the blogs.
Yeah. And I like the addition of the game of the year. We'll continue to check that out. And then we've got the Homerun Award, which is a fun one. And the Saber metrics, the Saber fucking metrics. Maybe we, yeah, you love that. And I do too. I'm catching on.
It's just because like the point of Saber metrics is we don't know what we're talking about. And so that's why the name is to me that the joke is like, yeah, we're talking about Saber fucking metrics, buddy. But we can always work on that one. Speaking of names, it is no surprise we are actively trying to get a different name than Starting Nine for a whole bunch of reasons, none of which are controversial, just mostly from the standpoint of having our own thing. And we got some names. I'm going to run past them. I'll be honest, I think any of these are good.
Yeah, I have one that people around me like, so I'll see what you think.
All right, I'll give you a couple bad ones before I rip on yours. Okay, first off, Wheelhouse, hate it. Second, Mound Visit. Fielder's Choice. Ugh. Someone said, what about 0.75? I said, well, why would we do 0.75? And they said that was Jake's second half ERA in 2015. I said, I cannot wait to suggest this one to him. Your thoughts?
I don't like that it's all about me, honestly. So, but it's all right. I mean, Joe West is 45-60. Come on, Joe. It's all about you.
Off the hook. That's so bad.
It's so bad. It's kind of funny.
So, again, shout out to everybody who sent these in. One guy said, how about playing Pepper?
Well, the one I was going to tell you is Baseballed.
So
did you heard that one, right?
As the
is
last
on your
one
list?
So last one on the list is because I actually do like baseball.
Yeah, Brittany likes it too.
Because the logo is funny.
Mm-hmm.
It could be like our faces, but then like the top of our heads are baseballs.
Yeah. If we could get something drawn up that we like.
And then what the next step is. You know what the next step is once we get a name we like.
Yeah.
Take it to Portnoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually interested for that. That's going to be electric content. Is you sitting on like a stream in front of him and pitching him the show and him telling you why it's important to our business team or our podcast feed or something. And that'll be a good discussion.
Well, we already have the show. It's just as simple as changing the name. Right?
I don't disagree. And I know I'm going to get an email from somebody who's like, hey, do you have a second? Do you have a moment? I wanted to just jump on a Google and just ask you a bunch of vague questions until you realize not to do this ever again. That's kind of how it's going to go. So, but we're changing the name.
Yes.
Housekeeping Memorial Day weekend plans quick. I'm going on Friday to walk tomorrow. A buddy from Illinois is playing in the Corn Ferry tournament. He's 26. He won the Western Am in 2016. His name's Dylan Meyer.
You gonna caddy for him?
No. It's too serious for that. But I'm gonna walk inside the ropes and do some videos and hang out with him. And he should be competing to be on the PGA Tour, pretty soon here. Guys, it's like, so I'm just jacked to be that close and hear the ball. We talked sounds earlier. You hear the ball pop like a golf ball. So
it's a different sound. God, it's a beautiful sound.
Oh yeah. There is something beautiful about being around somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. on a golf course. What else you got?
Well, I'm going out to the Lackey's Ranch with the family this weekend. We'll be out there. We'll do some work around the ranch, and we haven't been out there in quite a while. Hopefully, shoot a couple pigs. Just, be out there. We'll do some fishing, have some fires, cook some food, maybe do some fireworks. It's gonna be fun to get away for a couple days.
Everybody have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Like, those are the people listening to the show too. This is Memorial Day weekend is sneaky, just like everybody just gets crazy. You just have to get crazy because it's Memorial Day. I think it's the first big 3-day weekend of the year. I could be wrong. Someone fact check that. Most importantly though, you guys stay safe. Obviously to our sponsors, thank you guys. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, guys. And don't forget, subscribe. Thanks for being a part of the show once again. Great job, gentlemen.
T-shirt.